I just want to give you a bit of an insight into the AFL Enjoyers team. We're a bunch of unique individuals, Matsa, Sfenda, and Dean. We're going to engage with our minds and our hearts. We're going to exchange ideas, thoughts, and even our energy. And to speak from your heart, you need to have courage. You need to be honest and authentic. We're not always going to get it right, and sometimes you're not going to agree with us. But that's okay, because just like you, we care. Just like you, we're passionate about the game. So if you want to come along for the ride, join us at the AFL Enjoyers podcast, because we really enjoy the footy. Hello and welcome back to the AFL Enjoyers podcast. My name is Dean. I'm joined once again by two fellow enjoyers of the AFL, George Sfenda and James Matsa. How are we going, boys?
Very well,
Good,
well.
mate.
Yourself?
Yeah, pretty well. Did you enjoy Gather Round?
To an extent.
Mate, a buzz in Adelaide. We loved it.
Oh, we loved it.
We were in the
G'd it
streets of
up.
Adelaide, embracing the culture.
That's
Right.
it, man. That's it.
That's a total lie.
That's it. Went to the churches, went to the wineries, loved it, man.
Better than
Loved
grand final week, everyone's saying. I wouldn't know personally, but hey.
Yeah.
Well, they renewed it for how many years now? 3-4 years?
it. Yeah. So we'll find out eventually. We'll catch one, I reckon.
I, for one, am happy not to have to hear the word gather round anymore after right now. So that's it.
It was only repeated 1,000 times, mate. When all the Melbourne teams come back to Melbourne, we'll find out how they actually feel.
Yeah.
But they've been very politically correct, I think.
I know.
Yeah, no.
I think they all had guns to the back of their heads. Like,
Yeah.
say you had fun.
You're going to
together.
enjoy this gather round,
Yes,
right?
yes, Captain.
Good stuff,
Oh,
boys.
man.
Well, I'll tell you what, it didn't start too well. And George, I think you need to tell us what the heck happened. The Blues absolutely copping it by the Crows.
Did
there.
they lose, did they?
I think they did.
Apparently so, man.
I don't believe it.
That's what I heard.
That's
what
crazy,
I
man.
heard.
I
That's
will,
crazy.
on the record, I did actually tip the Crows, but was quickly shut down by you two.
Well,
I have to support Georgie for once, man. I have to be a supportive
Matsa
friend.
and I have gone against each other. We finally unite, and it didn't work out. So
No. From now on, we're
separate
getting
tips.
divorced again.
Yeah, separate tips.
So,
I did say I wasn't convinced by the Blues' victory against North. I did say the Blues fans singing the song outside Southern Cross was a bit much. And there you go.
yeah, there we go, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Serves them right, man. They got me angry. So,
It's crazy. We're still going to win the flag. So,
so I guess this doesn't really matter.
when you're holding the trophy, you're not thinking about round 5 gather round against the Crows, are you?
Fair enough, actually. Yeah.
What can I say about this game? So I didn't watch it
Ooh,
live
yeah.
because it's, Orthodox Easter.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough.
And I was
bravo.
actually at church
Good on
like
you.
a good boy. And it was good that
See.
I was there because if I was watching that live, there would have been some expletives and God wouldn't have been too happy with me, I think.
You didn't sneak watching it in church? No.
I didn't because I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to concentrate. I'm not going to worry about the game. The
Fair
game's
enough,
not that
fair
important. There are other things in life that are important.
Whoa.
And then I ended up checking the scores, so let's be honest. But so this is a situation. Shout out to my cousin Nick. He leans over during church, right? We're in the service and he goes, you know the best part about being in church? You don't have to see Carlton get absolutely destroyed by the Crows. So after he said that, I was like, all right, I think this is not the best performance.
Yeah.
After it was over, I checked the score. I'm like, all right, maybe a miracle happened. It is Easter. So maybe the miracle happened and Carlton turned it around. I check it and it's like 120-60 or something like
It
that.
got worse, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that night, I snuggled in, got myself some chamomile. We like the chamomile on this show.
Yeah, shout out to
Flowers,
Chamomile, man.
flowers to come on.
Give it-
Chamomile
give it its
again,
flowers.
The flower. And then I watched the first quarter and then I was like, 49-6 or something like that in like 3 minutes. So that's after that, I watched the second quarter as well. The Blues kind of got it back to about 18 points. I think so. They had something, and then it blew out again. And it was done. I said, no, stuff. I'm not watching this shit. So one of those ones where it just started. The Crows looked invincible. Carlton looked shocking. The inside 50s, like super efficient. They were bullet passing to players free. Jordan Dawson decided to have his own footy. No one decided to do anything about Jordan Dawson. He's like the most informed player in the comp other than Dacos.
He is the man. He has the best inside 50 kicks in the league. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Like if you want one dude to take that kick into the 50, it's him. And the thing I liked about the team, Adelaide specifically, the team chemistry and the morale is just so high, man. Like there was a moment where it was after a stoppage goal. So Laird was running out of the stoppage, perfectly times a hand pass to Dawson. Dawson hits up Fogarty. They kick a goal, right? But straight after Dawson kicked the ball to Fogarty, he turns around to Laird and goes, yeah, bruh. You know what I mean? Because he gave him the perfect hand pass. You know what I mean? So the boys are they're getting around each other. They're just, spirits very high, and I like it.
We've been like high on the Crows this year.
I was just going to say, we flagged it in round 1.
Yeah. So they just haven't put it together. And then I think this is kind of their breakout performance. Carlton are still a good team. I don't know how good they are. They're fine at the moment. So it's not like it's an easy beat team. Yeah, they had the gather around momentum. They have the home crowd, but they look incredible. And I think Carlton has a lot to answer for. They're just not like, considering this is the first week where they've had their 5 big mids playing, plus Akers. Walsh comes back. They got Hewitt. They got Kennedy. They got Cripps. They got Chera.
I did slightly
There's no
question.
excuse.
I did slightly question that last week of the first game, all the boys back. You would hope that it just pick up that momentum, but Adelaide's been working with that midfield unit since the start of the year, looking pretty good. It might just take the Blues another week or two to hit their strides again as a midfield group, but
it's a very dynamic midfield group as well.
is,
When you add Rochelle in there as well, just that bit of pace.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you mentioned him earlier as well. I've got to say, Darcy Fogarty, I was a bit of a skeptic. He's kicked 5 goals in a huge game, and he's been good this year, as has that whole forward unit.
Yeah. Actually, speaking about that forward unit, I was having a read of the nine things we've learned, as they do every week on AFL.com. The last one was Crows may have the best forward line.
I think they do. I'll tell you what as well. In the first quarter, you mentioned the score, 8 different goal scorers.
That's right.
In the first quarter. So that's a sign of a really good team when they're not relying on one guy to kick all the goals.
Yeah.
But in saying that, Fogarty can kick 5 on any given day. So can Tex, so can Rankin. No one would be surprised.
Yeah.
Even Lockie Gollant will show up and kick 3 one day. Like, they're just really good. Last week, I also said maybe the top 8 is somewhat set with only 2 free spots available. I'll tell you what, the Crows was one of those iffy teams. Maybe there's only 1 spot left.
Well,
There
and
you go.
Essendon performed pretty well as well.
Maybe it's already locked
That's
in.
it. We've sort of
Carlton's the one that's looking wobbly
Oh,
at the moment.
jeez.
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you what, Ben Keys, mate, this guy decides to play good against Carlton and then disappears.
PG.
He is like the devil on the shoulder with Carlton. I don't know. He kicked 4 goals against us last year in that match. Destroyed Adam Sard. Well, actually, Sard played all right, but he nullified an impact. He's an annoying player to come up against, man. As a defensive forward.
Well, they've moved him out of the midfield and playing sort of that wing half-forward role, and he's looking really good, still being damaging, and they've sort of hidden his weaknesses, which is running and defending. So get him going forward, which is good. I did want to say, though, with the Blues, obviously we know Mackay and Curnow, it all sort of lives around them in the forward line. Only 5 marks inside 50s for the Blues, 20 for the Crows. So that's sort of just says the kind of ball they were getting in the forward line firstly, but obviously not pinning it on those two. If the delivery is not there and the service isn't there, then what are you going to do? But that sort of says a lot about how it went for the Blues.
You got to give some flowers to the Adelaide defenders as well, like Bart's.
They're good.
Who's the other dude who's really good?
Duday.
Duday.
Hinge is all right.
Hinge.
McElhenney.
There's another dude who's also really good. The tall guy, Murray. Nick Murray.
Nick
He
Murray.
He does not look athletic at all, but he's just big. He's just randomly big, and he's he does his job, man. So good on them.
Yeah, I think it's not an excuse, but something like McGovern being laid out, Doherty being injured during the week did weaken the back line a bit. Not that probably made any difference to the game, other than the fact that all the comments after the game was, how does Plowman get a game? You talked about O'Brien being a whipping boy. Plowman's even worse. I think I saw 100 comments in a row saying Plowman, like, if he plays another game, my membership is going in the bin.
I don't like those comments, man. I'm cutting it up.
If Plowman ever plays another game of football ever again, I'm going to die. So I don't think he was the reason we lost, but he shouldn't be playing.
Yeah,
There's too many players on the field to ever blame it on one guy, unless he makes a mistake in the goal square. And you can actually just say, yep, that was the moment.
Yeah. Did he have a moment where he did something really good? Like he might have sold some candy and then kicked it out on the floor.
Yeah.
It was him, yeah? Yeah.
Hey,
Fair enough.
I'll tell you what, though, all in all, it was a pretty exciting start to gather around. I know the Blues fans obviously wouldn't agree, but at least it was an interesting game to watch. The next one, I mean, for me, the score ended up being interesting, but the Suns versus Freo match, I was watching the first half and I'm just thinking, man, why am I sitting here watching this? Like...
You know what?
I wasn't enjoying myself.
What I did enjoy from the game was Lukosius. He's Dawson-like with his kicking.
Yeah,
But
that was good.
somehow he managed to go 1 goal 4.
He's one of those guys that can kick. He can he's like a sniper, but in front of a goal, he doesn't know how to put it through. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. He's field kicking, lovely, but he's if he thinks one goal for, he kicks 2 of those and they win the game.
Mm.
You know, so
Exactly right. And they had enough chances. The Suns had the lead for a lot of the game. Freo sort of lent into their small forwards to start the game. So Walters was getting amongst it again. They're really,
Schultz as well had a
they
good
look
game.
such a different team when Walters is playing well. It's actually ridiculous.
Well, I actually had that on my non-clipboard notes today. Walters didn't play round 1, right? Round 2 comes in as a sub, kicks 4 goals, 1. Right?
Almost won him the game that round. Yeah.
And then the week after 2 goals, 1. The week after 4 goals, 1. Or no, he had one game where he didn't do anything, 4 goals, 1. And then this week, 4 goals, 1 again. It's been very, very good. In a dysfunctional forward line, a guy that's kind of past his best has kind of come back this year and performed really well.
Well, when he's playing well, then guys like Jaimi's kick 3, Jackson can then kick 2 because all the attention is sort of spread rather than having like a Tapiner as your focal point. He's not good enough.
Yeah, and Amiss had, he's obviously a young player, so you're not going to be too critical on him, but he's had a pretty good performance. 3 goals, 2. Kind of looked like he was a leading target in the forward line for Freo, which is refreshing to see.
Yeah.
So that's good. The other thing I took away from the game was Gold Coast, strong midfield again, the same performance every week, but just like it's so disappointing that they can't close out a game. They had they should have won that game. They had chances to put scoreboard pressure on. They didn't. We talked about Lukosius kicking 4 points and missing some easy chances as well. But in the last quarter, Freo were just tougher. Sarong, Matsa's boy, was big again. But I think Sean Darcy against a second gamer, he just abused him.
Yeah.
He just like had his way with him, and that was probably the difference, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Freo, we should actually mention they won by 10 points. We got our tip wrong, so the Suns, we unanimously tipped the Suns.
We've got to stop tipping these guys.
Yeah, no, they're done. They're done.
Yeah, look, I don't have too much more to say about the game other than the Suns. If you're going to be inconsistent, do it for one more week when you play North. But otherwise, yeah, they're just sort of...
How long does Stuart Dew have, mate?
You know what? Yeah, if
I
we're
think
going to
he's
do
I think he was the one that I mentioned at the start of the year.
Yeah, I think he's in trouble, man.
Yeah, Mountain Dews.
Still might be Ken Hinkley, to be fair, but... No.
Yeah, that's true.
That guy, mate, he gets one win and he buys himself 5 weeks of the job, so good on him.
Yeah, and like a couple burgers as well.
Yeah.
By the looks of it. So.
100%. Yeah, no, Stewie Dew, his job's in trouble, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he'll make it through the season.
If you know what? Actually, I'll say this: if North beats them this week, it might happen as soon as next week. To be honest with you.
Oh, be cool.
That is huge.
Do you have any insider knowledge on that one, Dino? Or?
Oh look, you know me. I've got insiders everywhere.
Spies.
I've got spies everywhere, but
it.
yeah, just
In Gold Coast as well, man. Jeez, he's got reach.
stretched all over the
His
country.
spy is Stuart Dew. Stuart Dew told him he's out if they lose.
He's like, bro, I'm out.
All good. Actually, so the next game, Swans v the Tigers, quite an interesting one. Another wet weather game for the Tigers. They just can't catch a break. They're going to have to start training in the pools now.
I always thought they're a good wet weather team, but
It seems not because they just can't get a win.
yeah, it's disappointing.
Swans learned their lessons, I think, from last week and just run over them in the last quarter.
Yeah, that's right. It was kind of close. Richmond had Swans were on top for most of the game. Richmond had that big third quarter, which is interesting. They've had a couple of big quarters. Last week against the Dogs, they had a really big second quarter. Now a big third quarter. But yeah, Swans monstered them. Papley, a monster.
6 goals. Great post-game interview as well.
What did he say?
Yeah, Tom Papley. He just sort of came out. It was like an awkward date with Abby Holmes. He's just kind of like, oh yeah, I work for Channel 7 now, and yeah, I love the horses. I'm going at 9:15 to a winery. It was so weird, man. He gave specific times of when he was going to be at a winery.
Is that so? Is that like a subtle, like Abby Holmes, be there or be square?
For sure it was, man. Good on him, man. He shot his shot, and he shot a lot of goals as well. So, you know, man.
He's shooting goals everywhere, man.
That's it. On and off the court, as they say.
I'll tell you what, he kicked 6 in the second half as well. He didn't just kick 6 goals or throughout the 4 quarters. 6 in one half is ridiculous.
Now he's just got to do it for 4 quarters and, score 12,
Jeez, yeah. You
Next
might
time.
as well.
Next time, man.
But yeah, no, that last quarter, 7 goals to 1. So it was a real domination in the end. Richmond kind of lost their heads, gave away a few 50s. Shai Bolton, I think, had that one incident where he gave away a 50 in the middle of the ground.
Yeah, that looked ugly, man. Like,
Yeah.
did he kick him while he was
He-
ground?
he got
He
reported,
sort of
right?
punched him.
He sort of went to...
Yeah.
He went to sort of bump him, but then the Sydney player went to pick up the ball and it sort of just hit him a bit high.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
yeah.
Didn't look good.
I will say as well, Nick Blakey
Yeah,
for the
I was
Swans.
going to mention that.
Yeah, go for it, George. What did you see in his
Well,
game?
From the lizard himself.
81 to 45 scored some turnovers, right? And that was led by Blakey, 13 intercepts.
Mm-hmm.
So no wonder his Supercoach score was so high.
I forgot to mention this on the Supercoach pod that we recorded. Blakey's a sneaky shout. He's 507k. and he's-
145 he got. That's what intercepts do for your Supercoach score.
Yeah, hey, he's an option, man. He's an option for Supercoach. Little Supercoach inside on the non-Supercoach pod. But yeah, I forgot to mention
No,
that.
fair enough.
Anyway.
And it's crazy sort of how he's being played this year. We always sort of thought he had a bit of dash off halfback. He's pretty long reach, so he can get those intercepts. But man, he
Long
was
neck.
long neck as well. A very straight vertical neck.
Yeah.
Great posture. But
Man, I thought my posture was bad. I just look at him and I'm healed.
that's it, man. But no, he's sort of being utilised by Longmire at the moment to sort of just get after the ball and leave his man and just intercept, and it's working out really well for him.
That's it. Give him his flowers, man. Give him his flowers.
The other thing is Amadi got injured, which is kind of disappointing because
Yeah.
he hasn't had a run at it and it looks promising. And I don't know how long he'll be out for, but
Apparently, it's like till after the bye. It's a longer term injury, which is no good.
time for the buddy to come back.
I think so. Yeah,
100%.
He's rolled out the red carpet for him.
For sure.
So-
Look, the Tigers, again, though, I must say, I'm finding it really hard to judge how they're going because they do keep playing in these scrappy wet weather games. It's
against good competition as well.
Yeah, it's
with
really
injuries.
hard.
With that, I know they've got a twig in the rock, like it's the little baby giraffe. It's like it's pretty rough.
But the issue is, though, as we said, the ladder's sort of...
Yeah.
There's a lot of good teams there. Geelong is pushing. Port's sort of thereabouts. I don't know, man.
If they're on 6 points, right, and even if they're playing fine football and they're up against tough competition, if they just don't get any points on board, they're
Correct.
going to find themselves trying to rush home, and they can do it, but it's going to be hard.
Gee, I don't want to blame one guy for a loss, right? But Dusty had 17 possessions, only 4 contested. That doesn't feel right. When it's a wet weather game, should he not be in there getting that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Getting that thing?
I think he just wants to play at the G, perfect conditions, kick 5, have 20 touches.
He just wants to play finals, man. Maybe that's what he's
Well, he
thinking.
might
He's waiting. He's waiting for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he might be waiting too long.
Yeah, bad. Yeah.
Speaking of finals, North Melbourne, the Lions side.
Great segment.
I'm gonna let you
segue.
guys- yeah,
Rather,
look.
segment.
Honestly, I could go on a big rant to start things off here.
Mate,
but,
do it. Go for it, mate.
Yeah.
well, look,
Let it out.
we have our chat going.
Yeah.
I was losing my mind, as you guys can probably recall.
Yeah, it was a bit vulgar. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like,
Yeah, look-
some of the stuff he was saying, I'm like, whoa, man. Yeah.
Honestly, though, like, here's the thing. I'm watching my team play, and usually when you're watching on TV, you can't see up the ground. You can't really understand what's going on. But
Yeah.
this time you actually could.
Yeah,
Because
it was that
Brisbane
bad.
was moving the ball that quickly and that easily that the ball's in the air heading into the 50, and you can literally see in the 50 3 Brisbane Lions players ahead of the last North Melbourne defender. So what that tells me is we're losing the ball fine. We're not putting enough pressure around the ball. It happens, I guess, sometimes. But then what are these defenders doing, trying to sort of push up the ground and get that really aggressive intercept, and just time and time again getting nowhere near it? I'm looking at Luke McDonald, co-captain. I'm looking at Ben Mackay, first game back from an injury, fine. Griffin Logue, they were all just isolated and way out of position. And guys like Danaher and people just love that because they're not the best footballers.
No.
Like Cameron's really good too, but he'll pounce on the danger. These guys just love that open 50 to be able to do whatever they want. And North Melbourne just played into their hands. I was very, very disappointed.
To back up what you're saying, what do you guys think the scores from turnover was?
I remember it was something like 100 to nothing.
Yeah.
116 points from turnover.
That's disgusting, man.
That's their whole score.
That's-
That's everything.
Yeah, Well, look, I think if I'm going to give credit to something that Brisbane did, Darcy Fort was the dude. He's come in and, we were sort of saying a few weeks ago, they don't have the big forward, the McStay to bash packs. That's Fort now. He's going in there and doing that role. He didn't need the open space to score. He was, getting in there and crashing packs and taking contested marks. So, yeah, flowers to Fort.
Yeah,
But-
fair enough. Even like Lockie Neal, he was unplayable.
He was-
Unbelievable,
Like,
Lockie Neal.
That's as good as a performance as you'll see.
Yeah, that's it. He's showing us why he's a Brownlow medalist.
I do have somewhat of an explanation for North's poor form, though. And as everyone knows, sort of every time we criticize a team, they really respond. So we've got many viewers of the pod, and they do listen. I did try some reverse psychology last week. I said Brisbane would win, wink, wink, sort of hoping.
They took it literally.
But here's the thing I forgot to consider. Chris Fagan also watches the pod. So the reverse psychology just didn't work because he was watching and he knew that I was joking.
Wait, so who are we versing next week?
So that's my bad.
Who are we versing next week?
Well,
I don't think, what's his name?
The Suns.
No way Stewie Jew watches the pod. Surely we can.
He
if
told
we-
me he does actually. Yeah. Damn. Unfortunately,
He's going to be on the pod when he loses his job.
Yeah,
So he's
true.
going to be right there next to Dino, mate.
That's him. Man.
But you mentioned that.
That's
True.
him. We'll have to get another couch for him. Right?
Oh no. Oh no. Let's move on. I did want to just mention though. There's two players from North. I'm going to shout out.
Okay.
2.5 actually.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The 2 is Jaden Stevenson. Kicked
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
He
Well
actually
said.
made
All of
the-
them snaps.
It doesn't matter, mate.
That's
Made the most
fine.
of his chances, and also Charlie Common was the only forward we had that was launching himself at the football, giving his all. His second efforts were incredible as well. And the half is Harry Sheasel because he had 30 odd touches again. The guy's incredible, but he did have a few really silly errors in defense.
Yeah.
He's got to be the best fantasy rookie of all time.
He is.
He's
on
He's-
track. Yeah.
Oh man, I think he's like 11th best scorer in Supercoach, which is nuts, man. But the thing with Sheasel, he had a few really bad kicks, but it was because he had a corky, and he just couldn't really put those kicks on target anymore. But yeah, speaking on Comben, man, dude, he's that guy. He's that guy for us, man. Like that's the difference now. Hopefully, moving forward, that we can pair him up with Larky. He's a bigger dude. He's athletic, and he puts effort in. So that's all you can really ask for a key
And
forward.
Look, speaking of
So-
Larky, I've got to admit, I know he copped a knock against Carlton last week, and apparently he was touch and go for this week. But mate, if you're going to play, you need to either attack that ball in the air or on the ground. If you're just sort of there putting a body on your defender, losing every contest to what's his name, Payne in defense there.
He's a big boy, man. He's randomly a big boy.
The thing is though, you're Nick Larky, one of the better goal kickers in the comp. He's been crap for 2 weeks in a row. And Charlie Common, who's playing his 7th or 8th game, is looking incredibly better than you. So, mate, turn it up. Come
Not
on.
a good look. Not a good look. We're taking Flowers back.
Yeah,
I just
that's
wanted
right.
to mention as well, LDU. Like we're obviously all big fans of LDU.
Yeah.
That guy needs way more support in the midfield for him to really be able to shine. Because I've watched him quite closely, and you guys tell me what you think. He's looking for to kind of run through the pack and have that burst and get it forward. But when they're never winning it, he's tailing, getting ready for the ball, and then it just doesn't come that way, and it feels a little bit wasted. So when Simpkin was there, he looked much better.
Yeah.
Simpkin goes out, it's just there's nothing there. It just looked slow. Neil was running through the pack. It's disappointing. I just want to see him kind of realize his potential.
I was gonna say in a few weeks he might come in. There's a little Georgie waiting in the wings, Georgie Wardlaw. So hopefully that can, hopefully he can assist there. But yeah, anyway,
The other thing is,
yeah, as I say, I think we can move on from North. But
let's
you got
make it
something-
quick. You mentioned the fact that we talk shit about a specific player or thing, and then turn it around. You mentioned it before, but you didn't specifically say Hugh McCluggage.
Yeah.
So
True,
you
true.
spread a little like a potential little birdie told me that he's leaving, and he's like, I better not make that obvious. Gets the first fantasy ton of the whole year.
Hey, man.
I
He's
I see you, McCluggage, man. I see you, man.
hey, he's wanting as big a contract
I'm
as
not
he can
letting him
get.
off the hook.
He's showing off for the potential suitors at the end of the year. I'm telling
That's
you.
it, man. That's it.
Yeah, look, North, please just... I know it was the first game with Logan Mackay. It's a combination we're really excited for. Please just improve because you can't be defending like that every week.
That was rough. Man.
Um,
Yeah, right.
The next game was very surprising. And I'm just going to say off the bat, flowers for the Bombers at last. They're finally...
Whoa.
we finally
Dino giving the flowers to the
Hey,
Bombers.
we
man.
told them, beat someone good. And they did it.
Yeah, that's true.
What a win.
That's it. That's it. I thought I bumped into a Essendon supporter today at the gym, and he was telling me it's like just keep talking shit about the Dons because they're doing well, and he wants it to stay that way, man. Got a big week coming up in Anzac Day as well, so yeah, good on them, man. Coming into form at the right time.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they just completely nullified Melbourne's attacking ball movement. I never thought I'd say that Essendon's defence is actually good this year.
Well, Melbourne were the hardest team to score against turnover before, and Essendon destroyed them.
Yeah.
in that start. So it's pretty impressive and kind of concerning from like a Carlton. Like don't worry about Essendon. We had them like third last on the ladder.
Oh man, that's
They're
bad.
obviously pretty good. So, and the other thing is like Phillips and Draper, 3 and 2 goals. What's Grundy doing, man? Not accountable at all.
Stephen May as well just had a really
Yeah,
bad
he didn't
game.
have an
Yeah.
impact, and that affects them.
yeah.
Oliver was tagged out of the game and then decided to have a big last quarter, but didn't have an impact. What's going on, man?
I was gonna say Draper and Phillips. They're doing these sort of efforts without Peter Wright, who was the best and fairest last year.
That's true.
Like, I don't even know how Peter Wright comes back in. Like, obviously, roles will have to get adjusted a little bit. But yeah, no, Phillips has filled in admirably for what's his name, Peter Wright. Yeah, no, flowers to Phillips.
Yeah, man. And in that third quarter, the D's kicked 2 behinds. I can't even remember the last time they had no goals in a quarter. That's just ridiculous. The Bombers only kicked 3 themselves, but it extended the lead and pretty much ended the game. So I'll tell you what, look, Brad Scott, I'm not his biggest fan, but so far he's actually got a tune out of this team. So well done to him, I guess. No doubt he will let him down in the finals, but that's for another day. But
that'll be good for us as well, because then we can see his facial, reactions.
He's pretty funny.
He's hilarious in the box. Whenever they show him and
his mouth open.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like his face gets wider. His face gets wider when he gets angry. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
You did mention as well Phillips, but also Draper. He's a fun guy to watch.
Yeah.
Three goals in the first half.
Is he the best mullet? That's
a tough one.
The fact that he's so tall maybe just puts it over the edge, because it sort of looks weird on a tall dude.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Because that mullet's actually bigger than we think it is, because his head's so big.
It's a huge mullet.
True. I think it goes between him, Bailey Smith, Jack Sinclair. Hugo Ralph Smith is disgusting as well. Have you seen that, dude?
Yeah.
Do you even know who that guy is?
Running in the wind off the halfback.
Yeah, he's just shocking, man. Those boys are up there.
Collingwood, Carlton, and Essendon in the top 4. It's the 80s, baby. We've gone back in time.
So North should be thereabouts in the 8 somewhere then, if that's the case.
Yeah, it must be. I think
true.
I think it's. Look, I don't really want to admit it, but I think they obviously look pretty good this year. So maybe the top 8 is set.
You know what?
Perhaps.
I'll tell you something. Lee Montanga's not ballsy enough to say it, but I will. Top 8's done. Top
8's done. Ooh, there you go.
Stop watching, go on holidays, come back in the finals. We'll see you there.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Catches.
It does mean, though, boys, that Port and the Dogs are not going to make the finals, if that's the case.
Port are pretty good.
Port are frauds. No. Look, honestly, you're at home in a really scrappy wet weather game, and I'll say this, Todd Marshall won them that game in the last quarter. Horn Francis too, we'll get to him later. Yeah. He was incredible in the last quarter.
Yeah.
But Marshall was huge. He scored a goal from deep in the pocket, some big marks. Really well done to him.
That was the worst conditions I've seen in maybe ever. That rain was basically horizontal. It was that crazy.
Yeah.
That rain was horizontal. And I didn't realize the camera is so good at blocking out the rain, but there were certain angles where I don't even playing in that game would have been ridiculous. And you could hear the noise. I thought that it was raining outside my house. It was actually just the TV. It was crazy.
How loud you got the TV, bro?
Full blast. But what I noticed is it was relatively close, as it would be in such a wet game. But Port really stood up in that last quarter. They played really tough footy and clean footy. You mentioned Marshall. Zach Butters, who's one of my favourite players, I think he was best on, was amazing.
Might have been his best game he's played.
Jason Horne-Francis, he's had a great year, and not consistent throughout every quarter, but he has these big quarters where he really makes a splash.
Yep. He made it count in the last quarter this week.
Rosie was good all game, and the thing I noticed is that's their future. Yeah. Jason Horne-Francis, Rosie, Butters, Todd Marshall stood up and got him over the line, and that's they're young players that are going to take over the team and taking over the team. So that when you look at it from that perspective, as a Port fan, you got to go, well, we're in good hands.
Must be wrapped, yeah.
I will say though, everything you said there was correct. The Dogs though, they were in the game, and then Boak kicks a goal. You mentioned the conditions. He kicks a goal from 50 out deep in the pocket. What a finish! And then Marshall just takes a huge grab and wins the game. So. I mean, those two guys specifically stood up and kicked the goals that actually won the game, because you can compete and get the ball, and Butters had a nice finish as well in the last quarter. So there was just a few clean pieces of skill that really shouldn't happen in wet weather games. So well done to Port on that. Back-to-back clutch wins, but the Dogs on another day probably can win that as well. It was really close. And those conditions, I'm sort of over watching wet weather footy, to be honest.
Yeah, I come back to Melbourne.
I don't love the wet weather stuff, but that was ridiculous.
Everything at Marvel from now on. Every game at Marvel.
I'll tell you what.
And get a roof at the G as well, man. Let's source it.
Why not? Unless you guys had anything else to talk about the actual game, there's a few things I need to get off my chest.
Yeah, no, I'm happy for you, dude. Unless Georgie, you got something.
Well, I don't know what you're going to say. The only thing I mentioned for the Cody Waitman coming back in. I kind of forgot about him.
He's a good player.
He's a very good player.
Yeah.
He makes a difference to their forward line. Yeah.
I think, man, at this point, the small forward game in the AFL is probably the best that's ever been. Waitman, Rankin, Rochelle.
Yeah. A lot of them young. Pickett. It's kind of like the new generation.
Charlie Cameron as well. There's so many good ones, man. It's great. And they're the most entertaining players.
Matt Owies.
Owies, man.
Jaden Stevenson.
There's so many.
Well, no, that's a really good point, George. But I wanted to just talk a bit about this Jason Horne-Francis stuff because I can only speak on how I feel about it. And what I will say is this. As a North Melbourne supporter, of course we don't like the guy. I mean, he claimed he wanted to be the number one pick. He knew he was coming to North. He was rallying for it. And then after about round 3, he looked like he wanted to go. And, I get it from a human point of view. You don't like your job. You want to move on. It's hard to get up every day and go to work if you're not enjoying your environment and all that stuff, let alone the pressure that they face. But you can't leave your team at the end of the year and expect it just to be swept under the rug. No one's going to care. North fans will just get over it. Don't get on his case. That's the world we live in, unfortunately.
What was that quote from Ken? What did he call Horne-Francis for leaving?
Yeah, he said he was courageous.
Courageous.
Okay, now look.
Was it courageous or heroic? No, courageous.
Courageous. He called him courageous for leaving. Now look, obviously as the port man, he's going to say that, right? Like, he's going to say, get around him. He's a young kid. Let him play his footy. But here's the thing: you're a young kid playing footy, but you're also an adult. All right, you're 18. You're an adult playing professional sport. You shouldn't be judged differently than someone older. Okay, now if someone leaves the team after 1 year as a rookie, you're setting a precedent that any player that gets drafted can just say, you know what, not really vibing it, I'm leaving. So I think that's why he's getting booed by, I will mention, non-North Melbourne fans at that game. It's a bit crazy that he was getting booed in Adelaide. Probably a lot of mixed fans there booing him. It wouldn't have been all North fans, obviously. But look, if you're going to get booed, you sort of just need to deal with it. It's early days of the season where you just change teams. Guys like Kane Corns, don't even get me started on this guy, right? Because he's the one constantly bringing him up. Maybe people would have forgotten about it if he didn't mention his name every week and dress up like him.
Well, he's one-eyed Port Adelaide.
Mate,
that's all he talks about.
He dressed up like Jason Horne-Francis after round 1 on his Sunday footy show or whatever. Like, mate, this guy is the one putting his name out there and then getting upset when there's a rebuttal. And he can't see the other side. He's acting like North Melbourne fans are the ones just really one-sidedly angry. Mate, what do you expect? You're one-sidedly happy because you're a Port fan. Like, that's the way footy works, all right? So it's absolutely ridiculous to blame North Melbourne fans. The team is hitting an all-time low in the last few years. We had our prize number 1 pick, who has been called recently by Kane Corns our best prospect since Wayne Carey. So that just means even more. Why do you think we're upset, mate?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay? If that's true, I don't know if it is, but if that is true, and he left after 1 year and packed it in after 3 games, of course we're upset, right?
Yeah, no, we should be, and we are. Like, I think the word Hinkley calling the young man courageous for me is just in my eyes, it's the complete opposite. Like, to leave after 1 year, it's actually cowardly, if anything, right? And I don't want to call the guy a coward, but you just quit. You just quit after a year, man. Yeah. That's poor. And I think what the AFL needs to do, they have to do something similar to what the NBA does. Guaranteed rookie contracts. You have them for 4 years, not 2. Because I think we only guaranteed 2 years at a club. If you make it 4, then if you go maybe 2 years into that contract, a club can still trade you and get good value. You know what I mean? Whereas us, we ended up getting a good deal, but like our hands were tied behind our backs.
Yeah, and I will add as well, like I said, after a few games last year, he was spitting the dummy every game, giving away dumb frees. We joke about the ice bath things, but he wasn't listening to the coaches and trainers telling him to recover properly. Like, this guy wasn't a good teammate. He was getting angry at Todd Goldstein, in between quarters, people trying to say, oh, look, he's showing passion. No, he was disrespectful, right? So guys, even like Chad Corns is commenting, who's the assistant at Port Adelaide, saying he hasn't done anything wrong other than leave a club. Well, yeah, obviously that's the big thing. But mate, he's done plenty wrong. He bargained for the number 1 pick just for the glamour of it all.
Just for the clout. Yeah, he wanted clout.
Just for the glamour. And then he had no interest in participating in a rebuild that he knew he was cheating into, right? So I have no question about it. If North Melbourne was a half-decent team last year, not a basket case, he would have stayed. Like, this guy just spat the dummy. He didn't want to be there. Got Ken Hinkley getting all this praise for giving him a hug at 3/4 time. Mate, he knew the cameras are on, giving him a hug in the rain. What is this, a romantic bloody film. Like, come on, man.
It's the Notebook.
It's the Notebook here. Like, come on, man. He
Little-
knew the
little
cameras were
sus,
on. This
little sus.
guy, Ken Hinkley's a fraud, mate. I'm telling you.
Look,
I'm telling you. I'm pissed.
what I would say, I saw.
I thought that was pretty calm of you, Dean, to be honest with you. I thought you were going to
Yeah, no, that was measured. That was measured.
That was measured, yeah.
I think at least you need to see and understand both sides. I get why Port fans love him and hate North for criticising him. Like, I get where Kane Corns is coming from. But
Yeah.
the difference between me and Kane Corns is I can understand both sides. Kane just acts like what's North Melbourne on about? Like,
Yeah.
of course we're pissed off, mate. What do you think?
The only thing I'll say is North Melbourne fans, no problem, but Port hasn't versed North yet. And Jason Horne-Francis has been booed every match, which means that it's not every supporter base is booing him for some reason.
And that's because
I think-
everyone can empathise with what that would feel like if you're a basket case of a team and your prized possession leaves you in the midst of it all.
I still think it's ridiculous to boo Jason. If you're not a North fan,
Can you imagine if Sam Walsh came in,
Yeah.
was a gun in the first year? What if
Yeah.
you said at the end of the year, I'm out?
I get it, but it's got nothing to do with your team.
What do you mean it's got nothing to do with your team?
George,
It's he left your team.
No, but it's not North fans that are booing him. Other fans are booing
That's what I'm saying, though.
It's those fans are showing empathy to North fans.
I just think it's dumb.
I don't care if they boo or not. Like, for me, like I said, I find it interesting. I'm not saying they should do it, but it just goes to show that this guy did something that you shouldn't do, which is, really want and claim to be the number one pick. Say you want it. Yep, I want to be at North, and then give up on them because it compromises the draft at that point.
It does, but the Gold Coast and GWS players don't get slack for leaving their clubs.
They did a few years though. Horn Francis did a year.
I know, but
And
the
GWS also
principle's
have
the same.
No, but GWS also have just way too many inside mids, and they have to go to get game time.
There's been a mass exodus from Gold Coast and GWS for like 6 years.
It's
And
different, man.
It is very different.
Why is it different?
Different because I picture Matty Rao, right?
Mm.
Like, that guy there comes in, Gold Coast not a good team, so openly saying how badly he wants to be the number one pick. I think that's the thing that the league can look at and say that's wrong.
Mm.
Because he, from day one, didn't want to be there. If you go back and watch those interviews, I reckon you can see it in his eyes, mate. He was just talking.
He's faking it, yeah.
His agent's in his ear because he wanted to have that clamour of the number one pick.
The only thing I'll say is you mentioned that he's an adult. You judge him as harshly. I'm a little bit more compassionate to an 18 or 19-year-old kid because they don't know anything about the world. They don't necessarily know what they're getting themselves into. For me,
agree.
I'd be more harsh on. I think even Ken said something like he's not a 28-year-old, he's a 19-year-old. And I think there's something to that. And look, as a coach, I actually thought Ken standing up for him, I actually quite liked it. And maybe the cameras were watching, but at the end of the day, he's a coach, he's backing in his play. That's what he's got to do. So I didn't mind it.
Oh, fair enough.
No, look,
Look, if
obviously,
there were Carlton fans, the Carlton fans didn't. No, sorry. When Carlton versus Port, if Carlton fans boo Jason Horne-Francis, I'll be disappointed because I just think it's stupid. But anyway, that's me.
Fair enough. And yeah, look, I think we'll leave it at that for this week. But
Yeah, no, we've extensively reviewed.
look, I'm a passionate guy. I don't like seeing my club constantly getting in the news for no reason. We're not even in that game,
Yeah.
and somehow we're in the headlines.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah,
if
true,
it's not
true.
North related anymore,
exactly.
I don't know. Move
Wait
on.
till we play them in Tasmania. All the Tassie North fans are going to go
then
crazy.
boo him. That's a different
That's
story.
it. That's going to be lovely. It's going to be
Done.
beautiful.
All right. Well, look,
All right.
it's probably a good thing we spent so much time on that game because the next one's probably a 30-second chat. The Cats just whacked the Eagles.
Cool. So GWS versus Hawks happened. That was a really close game.
Now, look, what I will mention though is the Eagles sort of hung in there as long as they could.
They're trying. They're trying, but there's nothing else.
Waterman and Allen kicked 4 each, so that's nothing to scoff at. Good on
And
them.
who's the halfback? That is it?
Hoff.
Not Hoff. What's his name? Jones.
Petrescu Seed.
Not Manchester. I don't
We're
remember
doing
what his
guess
name-
the player again.
Jermaine Jones.
Jermaine Jones. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's having an okay year.
yeah.
That's something.
He's doing well.
That's something. Cameron's a freak. Jeremy Cameron.
Yeah, Jeremy Cameron. Oh, mate.
For another 4 goals.
Oh, mate.
Hawkins backfiring again too is a good sign for Geelong fans.
Look, Cats have they're kind of getting their momentum back against bad teams, but something.
all good, but yeah, not much to say there. The Giants beat the Hawks. That was a very interesting game. I happened to be watching that with Matsa there. We went a bit crazy when Himmelberg took that specky to win the game, essentially.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, really crazy. Unfortunate for the Hawks. Impey almost had the winner as well, didn't he?
Yeah, not a bad kick.
He had it on target. It was similar to that Florent kick from last week, except he didn't make a fool of himself. Yeah, look, I will say about that game as well, I've noticed some interesting stats there as well. Connor Nash, 31 touches and 9 tackles.
Whoa.
So that guy, they're sort of playing him in the midfield quite a lot
Yeah.
as a taller mid. I'm not sure what his ceiling is, but he's putting in a really good effort.
Well, he's a tall player, so he's a Bont as well.
Bont potential.
Another Bont. Like because Dean was saying, Will Day was Bont because he's tall.
Yeah, check out
They've
the
got two. They've got two, bro. They got Nash and Day.
Mate, just a team of Bonts, the Hawks.
That's bro. They're winning every
Unreal.
year, man. They're gonna win
Unreal.
every year.
The Hawks will be pissed they lost that though.
Yeah.
It's disappointing for them. They don't have a lot of chances to win games this year.
But look, I think you take that as a positive for them, regardless. Like that's a great effort against a team who should be further along in their development than they are. So
Yeah, the Giants are sort of stuck in that bottom 4 or bottom 6. Can't really get on a run of wins.
Yeah, they're a strange team.
They are.
They've got talented players. I mean, like Toby Green was back to his best. He had a good showing. Himmelberg had like the reverse, like he cut off his hair, but then he became a superhero, like the reverse Samson effort. But the midfielders still, like Tom Green's obviously starring. They're still got good midfielders, but I don't know. They just don't show up. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a little bit of a. Actually, they won, obviously, and that's a positive. But also, Cadman made his debut. That was cool.
Kicked the goal.
Yeah, he kicked the goal. He didn't really do a hell of a lot apart from that. But yeah, no, I got to say, he does look physically imposing. Like he's tall and he's very mobile.
He's got long arms as well.
Does,
so he'll
man.
be clunking some marks when he puts on a bit of size.
Yeah.
Did you guys see Chad Wingard's tongue injury? He
That's
severed his tongue.
Oh,
Not fully in half, but like a huge gash.
Who cut his tongue?
He was tackling someone, and sort of the way his head, like his jaw, sort of clamped up.
Oh, right.
He got it in his teeth. Yeah,
Yeah, and he needs like some surgery on
He
it.
bit his tongue off.
Yeah, and he doesn't wear a mouth guard, so that's a bit of a talking
Wait,
point.
what?
Yeah, that's a bit weird. Look, his name has guard in it. Like, so you gotta surely you wear a mouth guard.
Chad Wing, no guard.
Yeah, I don't we'll work on that. We'll work on that one.
But yeah, sort of a weird injury.
Yeah.
He's not going to be enjoying his meals for the next few weeks, I would have thought.
Nah.
Soup for dinner and breakfast.
He's having protein shakes for
yogurt
for the foreseeable future, I guess.
We joke, but probably that's his solution. Poor guy. Really good game there. And then we close off the round with a bit of an arm wrestle game for the most part. The Pies and the Saints. Pies getting it done, but I'll tell you what, that finish from the Saints, if they just had another 2 minutes, they would have won that game. They left it a bit too late. I was actually surprised with how many goals they kicked in such a short amount of time.
Yeah. They don't lose any admirers with that effort, bringing it back right at the end. That's good on them, man.
The fact that they were so close to Collingwood, who are kind of the benchmark team, other than maybe Brisbane at home, but Collingwood we think are pretty deadly, probably one of the best teams. Oh, that's obvious, right? They've lost by a goal, and they've still got like Jack Steele out, Membry out, King, a bunch of other players as well. Like St Kilda are a top 4 team,
mate. Their forwards kept Membry out the side. You know what I mean?
Is he fit though?
Apparently, I think he played VFL, but I think he usually when your forward line's depleted, right? Depleted, you just bring him straight in. But they're like, you got to prove it.
He'll come in this week though because Caminiti had that high hit on Nathan Murphy, so he's gone for a couple.
Interesting one, that one, because he kind of... Who did he hit? He hit
Nathan Murphy.
Yeah, Nathan Murphy. He sort of fell Nathan Murphy into his elbow. Kind of odd. But yeah, regardless, it's not a good look. He'll cop a week.
He won't escape. I reckon he'll get 2 or 3, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, possibly. Possibly.
I'm just going to say as well, I haven't fact-checked this at all, but I'm just going on a limb and saying it's true because it has to be. The Dacos brothers combining for 72 disposals, the most disposals ever by a pair of brothers in the same team. If that's wrong, I'll be shocked.
And their meters gained as well. Like Nick Dacos had 800 meters gained, and Josh Dacos 500.
Wow! And you know what? I've got a little bit of a quiz for you guys in regards to meters gained.
Oh wow!
Okay. So
my favorite stat.
There you go. And clearances, meters gained and clearances.
I love clearances.
So he's a current player who has the record, right? It happened in round 15 against Adelaide last year. And the guy had 1,169 meters gained.
This is a bit unfair because it's a North Melbourne player.
There you go. He knows.
Okay, so let me guess then. Oh, but it's last year.
It's last year. This dude he was good in Supercoach for like a year and a half.
Was it Hall?
Yeah. Aaron Hall. And that was the most ineffective 1,000 meter game probably ever because it was all from Adelaide behinds. But anyway, I thought that was interesting.
It's surprising how many meters gain you can get when you just bomb the ball like 60 meters every time.
What happened to Aaron Hall, man? Where is he?
He's just no good, man. I don't know.
VFL.
He's killing it in the twos, but we just don't like him. I think we just want to give the young guys run. But anyway,
Callum Wilkie as well. All Australian. Go for it.
Dean's boy, man. Dean gave him his flowers, and we're going to give him some more flowers, mate.
I'm noticing
Giving
a
him
trend.
some roses, man.
There's a bit of a trend on this pod that Dean's just right all the time.
See,
I don't know. I think we can disprove that very easily.
Yeah, it's weird. This is the one time you've given someone flowers, and it's been like, yeah, they've done well. It's usually when you tell people that you tell a guy they're crap, or a team that they're crap that they do well. But this time,
yeah, I can't tip, but
yeah, man, your powers. Do you know how to control your powers, man? You know,
no, clearly.
Figure it out so we can get North in the right direction,
All
man.
right,
Come
man,
on,
all right,
man.
Yeah,
I'll
Carlton
try.
can take some of that as well.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. Work in progress.
All right, we'll sort it out. We'll sort it
But
out.
he was very good, wasn't he? Jeez.
Yeah, nah, Cal Wilkie. He's that boy, man. He's
Well,
Yeah.
I think Collingwood had 15 more inside 50s, and it was a goal difference. So Wilkie has to play a part in that.
Yeah. Well, their whole defensive structure, the Saints are pretty sure they're the best defensive team for points against this year. So that Ross effect really kicking in.
Mate, like I'm telling you, they're a top 4 team. Who would have picked that? Not me.
nah, not me either.
We
man.
had them bottom four. So
We
not
had them
us.
as a nothing team,
Yeah.
and now they're going to slaughter Carlton next week and make me look like an idiot.
Yeah, no. I was
Yeah.
gonna say shout out to our mate Chris, who's he's a staunch supporter of the pod and St Kilda, so he'll be loving life right now.
He's
So,
been lapping it up the last couple of weeks, mate.
oh man, yeah, good on him, man.
It's
Flowers
a
to
really
Chris.
great sport to enjoy AFL, isn't it? When your team's going well. I
Oh,
must say,
yeah.
I was in a dark place on Saturday when North lost, and then I'm watching Port. I'm invested in that top 10 pick that I want Port to give North as part of that JHF trade.
So we lost twice.
We lost
basically.
twice, and the Bombers won. I mean, not that I really care about that, but I've gone on a limb saying they're no good, and now they're just proving me wrong. Like Saturday was bad,
Yeah, that's true. That is a tough day for you, man.
so here I am, just sharing my feelings with the boys, getting it out. there.
Try getting defeated by Jordan Dawson, the whole team. Just Jordan
Joel
Dawson.
Dawson by himself,
by
just his
himself.
left foot,
Yeah.
just his left
Carlton
foot.
got defeated by the left foot of a player.
Yeah, it's a
There you
pretty
go.
formidable left foot, man.
It is, and I'll tell you what, I think we should get into the next week's tipping because there's some interesting games.
Oh, it's a tough one. This one.
It's a very tough one. We start with Friday night. Freo actually gets the Friday night game, their first of the year.
wow.
They're playing
Very well deserved.
well deserved, I guess. Yeah, I mean, if you're waiting your turn, they've waited their turn patiently.
Yeah.
Fremantle hosting the Dogs in Perth, so we're back to playing in our home states. I mean, look, Freo hasn't convinced me whatsoever.
Oh, this is a rough one, man.
The Dogs away from home, I'm not sure if they're as potent as they are when they're at Marvel, for example, or the G, but
They're not, but I still think they're way better than Freo.
yeah, I haven't seen enough from Freo to tip them.
So you guys are both going doggies. So I'm going to go Freo just in case Freo wins. I can say, But honestly, no, I think the home ground advantage, Darcy against English. I don't know if English has the physicality to hang with Darcy. So I don't know.
You can get him around the ground, though, I think.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
true. I
100%.
shouldn't be doubting Tim English. He's that boy.
No, it just made me think, if in the gather round last week, if you had your home match, and your home match was in some country part of Victoria surrounded by grapes.
Pretty rough,
of
yeah.
South Australia surrounded by grapes. That's not really good.
Surrounded by grapes.
You know what I mean? Like, when the fence is just like that railing that you can just jump over.
Well, I guess, if you needed a little bit of a sugar rush, you just jump over the fence and grab it.
Yeah,
a couple
instead of
grapes.
oranges, you've got your vitamin.
That's it, man.
One vitamin. I don't know what
That's
vitamin.
it. Get that vitamin C and antioxidants in another manner.
Yeah, antioxidants. That's it.
I should just say, actually, before we continue with the tips, just going back on last week's tipping to sum up how
What
we
did we
went.
get? 3?
No, we did a bit better than that. It started really badly, though, because I was the only one that tipped Adelaide, as I mentioned, so we got that wrong.
Thanks for mentioning that.
We all went Gold Coast, as we mentioned, so we got that wrong as well. So we're 0-2 at that point. We did tip Sydney, so we're 1-2. We did tip Brisbane, 2-2. We didn't tip the Bombers, which is understandable, but they proved us wrong. 2-3, and then we actually went the Doggies. So George was the only one that went Port. So we were 2-4 at that point, but then we sort of brought it home with the Cats, the Giants, and the Pies. So we're 5-4 in the end. I think that's sort of what we're averaging.
We need some work,
Let's see
but
if we can pick it up. So
let's do it this week.
Let's
man.
get 9 this week.
let's get 9. So first game, we're all going Dogs, I think. aren't we?
Next
Okay.
game, it's Port.
Port
Let's-
hosting the Eagles. Yeah.
Let's
Port-
not even talk about that one. Let's
Port.
just yeah.
Port's
Port.
going to win that. And then we got Giants hosting the Lions.
Brizzy.
I think Brizzy's form away from home. I mean, obviously last week they were playing in South Australia. Away from home, George mentioned it on the last pod. They're not as good, but I don't think the Giants are the team where you're
Nah.
hedging
No.
against that.
And
stuff.
Lions are they're starting to pick up a little bit. I mean, they really put you guys to the sword last week, and that's like a sign of maturity for a team as well.
They did indeed. So, yep, the Lions are going to win that one. Now,
Oh, here's another one.
Yeah, this is interesting now, isn't it? So the Cats hosting the Swans at GMHBA. First game at GMHBA this year.
If that's the case, I'm going with Geelong, but it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. Lads,
Yeah, I might go Geelong as well. I think Jeremy Cameron's so good that he's the type of guy that can do a Jordan Dawson.
and you know what?
He has.
No defense.
Yeah.
No defense at the moment.
That's
You know,
right,
Blakey's not taking Jeremy Cameron unless one of the McCartans comes, but maybe Tom.
Well, it's concussion, right? So they might come back.
I don't think Paddy will.
Yeah.
For a while. I don't think
No, not Paddy.
he's going to take some time off.
No way. Look, Sydney can score against this Geelong defence as it currently is because they are pretty inexperienced with Radically sort of the big dog at the moment. But
Does the fact that the Geelong stadium is a lot narrower play more direct footy?
Well,
They've
it's-
got a kicking team.
yeah, I don't think that.
I don't know what Sydney like. It'd be good to look at how Sydney.
Yeah, I don't
plays.
think it hurts Sydney, to be honest.
No.
Look, I think we just tip Geelong at GMHBA.
it's home ground
Yeah.
advantage.
We'll tip
Yeah.
Geelong, but I won't be surprised if it goes the other way.
Yeah.
Hawthorn hosting the Crows in Tassie.
Crows.
Yeah, we've got to go Crows, but Hawthorn, they surprised people in Tassie, but not this week.
Yeah, Crows
Not this
have
week.
earned our respect, I think.
Yeah.
Sixth consecutive week that I've tipped Adelaide. There you go. Carlton hosting the Saints at Marvel. So are you really hosting them there? They sort of play Marvel better than you, don't they?
Well, we're both good Marvel teams, but you will just have the bigger crowd. That's all. I'm going to tip
great.
Saints.
Oh, he's
Oh.
gone against the Blues.
Yeah, I'm
First
trying to do the
time.
reverse psychology that you did last week and failed.
But Ross watches the pod. It doesn't work.
Look, I actually think Saints will win.
You reckon?
Yeah, they're tough. They play the game the right way. They're disciplined. Carlton's just not disciplined at the moment, and their midfield is in shambles. Even though they're good players, they're not performing. I think Saints will win. I hope that they don't, obviously. But
Yeah. To be honest, I agree with you. I'm going to go with the Saints as well, but it's... Yeah.
Unless Carlton gets the they need to respond thing, and the whole emphasis is on
They-
responding and starting strong.
They
and,
do need to respond. So...
and the weather won't
No.
impact the. Obviously it's Marvel, so it's perfect conditions. I still think Carlton can win, but if I'm playing the odds,
Fair.
I think.
and I bet you, I don't know, but I bet you Jack Steele comes back this week. I don't even know what his injury was. It's just the type of thing that's the luck. I bet you he comes back.
Look, I'll go the Saints as well, but I think Carlton will respond. Not to play to that joke, but I think when you get a belting like that and you're a good team, you start strong surely, and then from there see how it goes. But the Saints have shown enough to earn our tip there. This one can go either way. Suns
Yeah.
hosting North.
I can't go against North when it's Gold Coast. It feels wrong. It just feels wrong.
They're better when they're at home. They're way better though. The Suns.
So you guys can go pick the Suns. It's fine, but I can't say Suns.
So we've got North with Matt.
We're
with Matsa.
tipping very non-emotionally this week.
Except for me.
So you've gone Gold Coast.
See, even you can't pick them.
Well,
Look
they
at
suck,
you.
they suck, man. But I'd be very interested to see what the weather is like on that day. Like if it's a really hot day, which I don't know if that's likely, but if it is a hot day, that makes it the home ground advantage significantly better for Gold Coast. Humid conditions, that's how they play, that's how they train, that's what they know. That's tricky for teams. North is not, an established team. Gold Coast isn't either. It's a midfield battle. I don't know. Is Simkin playing?
I think he might be.
Probably not. Probably not.
I'm gonna go Gold Coast.
Yeah, fair enough.
Again, not really convincing, but I don't know. I'm going to go the home. And is Witt's back? If Witts is back, it makes a difference.
We got Goldie. Doesn't matter. Nah, look, honestly,
It matters for Gold Coast.
I was disgusted at North Melbourne last week, as I mentioned. I'm willing to say that it's possible we respond. And I think there's a world.
He's using all the cliches in one sentence.
It is a hard narrative to sell,
Put a full
but there
stop
is a
in there,
world
man. Put a
where
full stop.
There's a world where North Melbourne strings together more than what more than a quarter or two, which they have shown in most games. We did show a quarter against Brisbane. We kicked 5 in the first quarter. Let's not forget that. We showed a half against the Blues. Actually, 3 quarters against the Blues, really. I know Carlton sort of went to sleep. 3 quarters against the Hawks. I think if we win 2 or 3 quarters against the Suns, we can win. Simple as that. The Suns aren't going to dominate the 4 quarters. Surely not. So I'm going North.
There we go. That's
Come on,
a
Roos.
controversial pick.
Get it done.
This next one is going to be my NAW No of the week. Richmond are not beating Melbourne this week.
Oh, wow.
They're not beating Melbourne. I'm
So
telling you.
Wow. So Port Adelaide's not the Nor beating the Eagles. You're
No,
going out on a limb
I'm
here.
not going to keep beating down on the West Coast Eagles this week. Melbourne are going to respond. Clary and Petrarca are going to dominate in the guts, and also they may have gone back in the ruck to smack around the little baby giraffe. They're going to win. They're going to win.
I think Melbourne's going to smash them.
Yeah, that's a convincing rev up by Matsa there. I'm ready to run through a brick wall for him.
Thank you, lads, for supporting me on
I'm
that
ready
one.
to punch a giraffe, mate. Animal cruelty.
The baby giraffe as well, man.
I will say, look, if it's not raining, Richmond might have their ball movement going a bit better, but
Their ball movement has been like dynamic even in the wet. They're
Ah,
really
it's-
slingshotting the ball. It's
it's
not.
just crappy. But yeah, no, without Tom Lynch as well,
Yeah, it's
Stephen
very
May
hard,
and the boys at the back should take care of their forwards.
Yeah.
And now this is the most interesting game of the week. For the first time in a long time, I can't remember the year, but Collingwood and the Bombers are in the top 4 for the Anzac Day clash.
How do you
Huge.
pick this?
That's going to be 100,000 there, by the way.
Collingwood.
What's your reasoning, George?
Well, they're a better team. They're proven better, and I guess both teams have big crowds, but it's a big game, and Collingwood have shown that they can perform under pressure, and Essendon haven't shown that in the last year or so. I just think Collingwood's a better team. I'm not disrespecting the Bombers too much, right? They've obviously played good footy, great win last week. I just think Geelong is gonna, just like they smacked Richmond, I think they're gonna smack Essendon.
You know what? Being that I saw an Essendon supporter today, my boy Zumi, if we tip Collingwood, which is what I'm going to do right now, Essendon will win. So there we go. I'm going with Collingwood.
So we've got
Shout
one
out to
Collingwood.
Zumi.
Actually, 2 Collingwood. I think it can actually be a lot closer than you do, George, to be honest. I don't think any team's going to run away with this one. The Bombers, though, let's not forget, they play Melbourne, who's got a great midfield, and just beat them around the ball. So Collingwood sort of lives and dies by dominating that midfield. Not so much as individuals, but in that collective effort. So if the Bombers can hang with them, then they do have some good names, especially if Zach Merritt doesn't get suspended, because he's sort of been offered that 1-match ban at the moment. So if they challenge that and get off,
I think he might get off.
if they get off, then and their midfield matches up with the Pies, then maybe they do keep it close and anything can happen.
Look, the clashes are usually pretty close, aren't they?
They are,
Yeah.
even when the Pies have been better than the Bombers.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to say the Bombers to win.
Oh, there you go.
I think they're a chance.
There you go.
Keep it interesting.
I think they're a chance, but I think Collingwood will be too good.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well,
Cool.
good. I've got one little thing to bring up. I think AFL's award game can go up a slight notch, right? So in the NBA, they have a most improved award, and we do not have that. So I was watching. This will probably be the biggest improvement in my eyes so far. Asava Radagalia's 2 games have been huge. He's been great. That from average ruck forward to a pretty decent defender if he holds it on. I think he wins the first one. Do you guys have any ideas of most improved players?
Is it just this year?
Yeah, we'll go with just this year because I've got a backdated one for last year, and I think it's pretty obvious.
I've got to think about it a little bit.
Fair enough. I'm backdating my most improved award, and I'm going to go with George Hewitt from last year because he went from just average player to gun inside mid. Hasn't happened this year, but
I think last year's easier in my head, like Will Brodie, Jack Sinclair, George Hewitt are kind of the ones that come to mind. Like not big names. Sinclair became a superstar overnight. Hewitt got a role that an inside role, big preseason. Had a massive year.
Sinclair then.
Will Brodie was basically like a nothing player at Gold Coast and was like their main kind of clearance play in Freo.
That's fair call.
I've got 2 for this year potentials.
Yeah.
Number 1 is Isaac Rankin.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, good,
Even though
good
he
shout.
we saw the talent, but he was very inconsistent in Gold Coast, as the whole team is. And he's the best small forward in the comp at the moment, just about. And the other one's the boy we mentioned earlier, Cal Wilkie. He's a shout.
Yep.
He's been solid for a few years now, but he's taken another jump up this year. So off the top of my head, there's those two. I can't think of anyone else that's really gone from a nothing player to a really good contributor.
Yeah, the other one I've got in my head, even though he's only played like 3 games, is Will Day. He's he's gone from a dude who hardly plays. He's in and out of the team, injuries, half back, whereas now he's an inside mid and he's doing really good. That's another one. But yeah,
I think it's maybe not the best one, but Brad Crouch has had a pretty good start to the year as well. Obviously, he was a good player at Adelaide at his best. Kind of been so-so for the last couple of years, but he's had a really strong start to the season as well. Big reason why Saints are playing well.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway, AFL will get on it, mate. Most Improved Player Award. I reckon it's a good idea.
There should be a bit more fun with the awards, shouldn't there? Not just the Brownlow, which is an umpire vote. Probably the coach's vote matters more than that. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, true.
Excellent. I think we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much to everyone for watching. All the socials there on the screen at the moment. So yeah, give us a like and follow on all of those. Subscribe to the podcast. We're on the road to 100 still. So once we hit 100 subs, George is racing Bo McCreary. He's already agreed. George has agreed. Bo's agreed. So we're just waiting on you guys now.
And it's only what's the fastest 100 meters ever?
9 something?
Yeah, it'll only be a 9-second clip. So
yeah, true.
It'll be a short.
That's it. Another YouTube short. So we're ready to go.
All right, so get around that, and thanks for watching again. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.